Hi and welcome back to Sven's Bricks. This is episode 2 of my Wild West mock. In this video I'm going to be taking you through the next stages of the building process and let's see how far we can get on. So since the last video I've added some detail and I've almost finished the plates. So underneath this box here I can just show you over here that there's a tiny bit of sand still needed for this corner here to cover up these green plates and the gap here, and then also the gap here and around the back of there, and then a little bit at the top there. These yellow bricks are outlining where I will have the ravine or the canyon, so I'm going to have 2 here, 1 there and 1 there. I've started to lay out some bricks here just to get a feel for it, but this needs to be done properly. And then in the front here, and then in the foreground here, I've just added in lots of small little 1x1 studs, little tiles. I made a cactus just to see how that would look. And then I've added in a little bit of rock work in places just to break up the otherwise barren landscape. And then finally I've just started mocking up a sort of little bandit's hideout here in the corner here, but they're a bit exposed. I think we need to get a few more rocks and bushes around here to hide them away properly. But that's more or less as far as I've got for now. The train track is in place and I've got sand running right underneath all of those, so that's exciting. And then I will be obviously working on some larger buildings in this corner here. So I've picked up a few things from Bricklink in order to help me a bit further here, so I'll just show you briefly what I managed to pick up. Most exciting of all for me is this cattle skull, which I think is an awesome part. I wasn't even really aware that this was made. But it's really cool, so we can just place that there for the moment. Instantly adds a little bit of character to the landscape. So what did I get? I got some nice grey slopes in light bluish and dark bluish grey. I've got some more slopes and some sand 1x2 bricks. I got some larger 2x4 bricks, some 2x2 bricks, a few more plates, and a couple of longer 6 long bricks in there, a couple more plates in there, and some 2 wide light bluish grey slopes, as well as some slightly more sort of desert coloured shrubbery here, because it was really very green, all the shrubbery I have. See, this is not really the right colour for deserts. It's a bit too colourful. So I ordered some of these. Interestingly, I found out that that bush there is worth about €5, just that one little bush. So I don't think I'll be buying lots of those, but at least I've got one. And then finally, just a few more of the slopes and 2x3 bricks. So I've got enough here. I'm hoping to finish off this corner here, and then in order to build maybe the first 3 or 4 layers of the canyon here, just to start getting an idea of how it's going to look. So I'm going to get building, and then we'll see how we get on. So I've come a bit further now. I actually was wondering whether the terrain was still too flat. So I did try to raise this back corner here, but I didn't feel that it helped me very much. So instead, at least for now, I've decided to add quite a lot more rock work to this corner with a little mine there. I was toying with the idea of having the mine at the back over there, but I think that by the time I've built a canyon there where the yellow bricks are, then you won't really see it. So I thought it was better to have it here. It helps to hide away the bandits' hideout a little bit. But I'm pretty pleased with the gold mine. I may add a bit more to it, including planks going across the front. But I'm pretty pleased with the way that came out for now. And then I've started work on the first of the 2 big ravines, or mountains, or canyons, whatever you want to call them. So there will be 2, as mentioned, one in the back there and one here in the foreground. And I think that the technique that I'm using here is turning out pretty well. I really like the way that it looks. I'm going to have 1 layer of the nougat coloured brick, I think it is nougat. And then after that we'll be going for the dark tan, so a decent chunk will be dark tan, like that much, and then there'll be another decent chunk at the top with sand, the tan colour. So it's going to be quite high, probably come at least this high, so quite a lot more bricks are needed there. And then I need to do the second one at the back there, of course. I've chucked in the Hogwarts Express just for now, stickerless Hogwarts Express I'll add, just to give a feel for what it's like with a train in the display. I did actually put in the entire train station that came with that set, but it was just too big. It went over the track and it was just too big. So I've just borrowed the bottom bit of it, although I have switched out these for brown plates. I think they were grey in the original model, but I think that looks pretty good. Maybe it's still a bit too big actually, to be honest. It's not going to be a big western town here in the corner, so I may end up shortening the length of that. And then I've just built up the 3 western sets that I have, 3 western buildings that I have, in order to start a bit of a town area here. So I've made some good progress here. I'm going to continue with a bit of detailing work, and the rocks in particular, and work a bit more on the actual western town as well. And this is where I'm going to leave the video for today. I've added in a little bit of rock work in the corner over there with a little bridge going over the water, and then I've also rearranged slightly over here. I've put in those ugly rock pieces just as a bit of just to create a bit of a backdrop temporarily, because I'm going to try and do this sort of rock face here a bit more going along there. And so I've actually added in a bit more of a rock wall above the mine there. And as you may see, I've also painted my wall blue just to make it look a bit more like sky, a bit more like an actual landscape here in the back. Over there I've also added a bit of a wall, a sort of facade for just to get a bit of an idea. A lot of this is just sort of just trial and error really, just to see what works and what doesn't. But I think this area came out pretty good. I'm probably not totally finished with it. It's a bit flat at the top there still. But I'm pretty pleased with that area and the rock work covering up this ugly bit of wood here on the wall. So the biggest thing that I've been working on the last couple of days is the sheriff's office. This actually took quite a lot more time than I was expecting, or than what you might imagine, because I had to dismantle and rebuild it quite a few times before I was satisfied. Unfortunately, I'm not a skilled enough builder to be able to see ahead any issues that I might encounter, and I've also, along the process, found a few more pieces that I wanted to include. So I actually found 2 more of these sheriff windows, which I put around the side here, you'll see in a moment. But I think I dismantled this one at least 4 times before I finally was happy with the way that it looked. At the front here, this was originally black underneath the roof, but I felt that the colour scheme wasn't right. So I've actually just replaced that with brown. It is black on the back, but you can't see that. And then I also felt that it needed a little bit of detail underneath there. It was very plain at the top here. So I actually looked up sheriff's offices online to see what they looked like for this build. And the tradition was to have a star up there, of course, but I couldn't think of a good way to make a star that was quite large at the top there, so I've put a wheel there for now. I'm not sure how appropriate that is for a sheriff's office, but at least it looks the business. May make 1 or 2 small adjustments, like for example, I've just noticed that I think that piece there would look better in white, to carry on the white trim there. But otherwise I've inset these windows on the top floor using jumpers, just so that they go in slightly. It just adds a little bit more realism to the look and doesn't make the wall quite so flat and plain. So they actually have like a small window ledge and a little ledge that looks over the top of the windows there as well. I can just show you around the side of it as well. You may notice that I'm using a bit of a mixture of the old brown and the reddish brown. This is mainly due to cost. I don't actually have very many brown parts left now. But I think that, you know, some people actually prefer a bit of mixture of shades because it makes it look a bit more realistic. I'm not sure that I'm one of those people, but I am one of those people that doesn't have endless money, and the truth is that Lego is expensive, as I'm sure you're aware, so I'm pretty happy with the way that this turned out for now. The bottom floor is mainly left untouched, at least the front part from the original set, the actual Lego set. I decided that this piece was a bit too much. It looks good, but with Sheriff on all of the windows, then I felt that putting this little one in from the Lone Ranger set was enough. So the bottom floor, you can see here, I just added a prison cell at the back. And if I take you around the back of the building, you'll see that there's a small window there, but it looks pretty nice here with the wooden panels on the back. For the top floor, we can actually remove the roof. I've done this a few times in my builds over the years, just because it's nice to do a bit of interior. I think it looks, even if you don't really see it, I think it's nice to include a little bit of interior, just because then you can show people. So inside here, then I've built a little bit of interior for our sheriff. So there's a bed in the corner there, a couple of drawers and a table. He's pouring himself another whiskey. In the corner there, I just added another couple of drawers and a little cabinet. I think it just adds a little bit to be able to see through the windows that there's a little bit of life going on inside. So the roof is made up of the minifigure stands. I have hundreds of these that I don't use, so it felt like a good piece to utilize. And they're just placed upon these hinged bricks in order to get the angle right. I'm not very happy with the big gap in the middle here at the top. I sort of thought about placing a loose Lego tile or a plate along there, but I don't like having loose Lego pieces. I feel like they should be fixed. So if you have any bright ideas on what I can do about this big gap, I'd be very grateful to know, because I don't think I can live with that, to be honest with you. Otherwise, I'm really happy with the roof. It sits nice and flush. You can't see the ugly colours that I've used to hold the roof together underneath. And from a distance, I think it looks the business. So there's a bank that's going to go in here, so you won't be able to see these walls here, which are white and grey, in order to save parts, because I didn't want to use brown pieces, which you're not going to be able to see anyway. And the next building that I will be working on, which you will see in the next video, I hope, will be the bank. So I think that's it for this video. I'll be doing another progress update in a month or two once I've come a bit further with the MOC. If you have any thoughts on the MOC so far, ways to improve it, please do let me know. I'm very open to feedback, and I really appreciate you watching and taking the time to comment. Please do drop a like if you're enjoying the content, and consider subscribing. I'll be back as soon as I can for another update. Bye for now.